All right, let's have a pint or two, drinking it up. Let's talk about building a BarCraft. That's this time on Inside the Scene. Hit it, Tara. Hello, ladies and germs. Welcome to Inside the Scene, the show where we explore the passion of StarCraft and where that passion can take you. I'm your host, Drexama, and not the indomitable Ender Sword. This time, I'm joined with my temporary co-host, or maybe permanent. We'll see if Ender Sword doesn't come back from Hawaii. Andy Man.
Oh, maybe I'll have to set something up where he doesn't know. I'm just thanks for having me. It's good to be back. I had a lot of fun with the ProBots casting. I'm very excited for the next season of that. And I'm very excited to be here and talk about BarCraft tonight.
Yeah, man. Andy, man, I am super excited. Anytime we're able to work together is actually a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it.
Well, thank you. We've only done it a few times. Wait, give it another few weeks, maybe you'll know.
Right?
Like, try to have a fun time. No, I love StarCraft. I play the game. I learned to not play the game seriously and just have fun with it. And ever since then, I've just had a great time talking, learning, all that.
When you play, do you play ladder or do you play?
Not anymore. I every now and then I'll hop on a rank game, but I mostly like playing with people that I know and can talk about the game with and learn from and kind of get better that way. It's just a lot more fun for me. Ladder's so stressful. I'm sure there's plenty of you in the chat who know what I'm talking about.
I'm totally a co-op.
Too stressful.
I only play co-op.
Co-op's a lot of fun. I love the arcade. I play a ton of arcade. I even do a dabble in the map making and that kind of thing because I love that aspect too. So yeah, just everything except for ladder is fun for me in StarCraft.
I totally resonate with that. It's like every time I hit ladder, I'm just like,
it's too serious. I want it to be fun and relaxed. And when you ladder, you do have to take it a little bit more seriously. Your reputation, your MMR is on the line. So definitely a lot more of yourself goes into it when you ladder, I think.
Mind you, I myself will play a lot of the practice games.
Coward. Apparently I'm a coward for
unranked.
Nah, I can't argue it. Can't argue that.
Yeah, well, the people have spoken.
Well, that's fun. But so let's. I'm ready to talk some BarCraft shenanigans. Personally,
but before we do that,
I don't want to jump the gun here, though.
Yeah, just before we do that, we have some regular segments. We have some awesome segments.
Yes. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, don't forget it. No.
I'm so excited. No.
But don't worry. So the first thing we always start the show off with is the question of the day. And the question of the day, you guys know how this works. If you don't, it's very simple. We pose a question, and you tell us your answer. You let us know what you feel like for this answer. And today's question of the day, Andy Man, is which StarCraft unit would you be?
Super easy. I'm allowed to answer, right? Or is this just?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
I've thought about this a lot. Put a lot of consideration into it, and I think the obvious choice. Sorry about that. The obvious choice. That's my dog. Yes, is High Templar. They are the most powerful of the Protoss race. They have honed their skills. It's a little known fact about the High Templar. They are actually experts in physical combat. They just choose to use their psionic energies.
They're so advanced.
Devastating in power. They are so advanced. They're very stoic, the High Templar. I think it's something that we should all aspire to. The Zealot is a very battle frenzy kind of unit. A lot of the other units are like that. And the High Templars are much more about calming themselves, controlling the situation around them. So I think that's a good way to live.
This is
like cool to be powerful and bring down storms on things I don't like. I mean, who wouldn't?
This has to be like the most in-depth response I'd ever expect to have received.
I've dreamt of being a High Templar for a long time. No. At least a few years now.
You're like,
what about you? What would you be?
Well, my choice would be I'm gonna say a Nidus worm because I
Oh,
can be anywhere, everywhere, and like when they come out, they're just like.
Wouldn't you say that's like being the mother of like 1,000 different children though? Like their lives are in your hands. If you lose your Nidus, they're all dead.
Yeah, it's inside you know. It is one of those things where I thought about that, but I'm not too concerned about that because like Zerg units are expendable. But I just like the idea of just like popping out of the ground and it's like screeching as they come out. But
I've got another question for you. If you were trapped, say, on a planet inhabited only by Zerg and yourself, what Zerg unit would you hunt to eat to stay alive?
I don't know why my initial thought was a Baneling, even though I know it was like the worst possible unit you could even hunt. But I was thinking like, oh my god, they're so squishy, like jubes. I was like, they must be delicious, but obviously that's not the case.
Toss it in the freezer. Maybe it's really good. It's like eating a popsicle or something.
No. I'm gonna go with. I would probably hunt an infestor.
Hunt an infestor. Oh yeah,
they look pretty. They look pretty fat,
juicy, like a big caterpillar or something.
Yeah, like a grub.
Grub. Yeah. All right.
They look really juicy. I think I would hunt an infestor.
I would just go for the drone. It's easy target. Nice and meaty, it works all day. Some really good lean muscle there.
No way, that thing must be
super easy to put over a fire. Just rotate. It cooks perfectly, nice and evenly. It's Hydralisks. You gotta fabricate all that and chop up all the different parts like you would a cow or too much work. Drones.
Let's
and there's always an abundance of them, so you would never run dry.
Let's be serious. None of those. Anything past the drone would probably kill us. I just want to point that out.
Well, that's also why. Yeah.
All right, so why don't we get into our first segment?
No one in chat wants to share what they would be? I want to know what you guys want to be.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know what you want to be.
I'm curious.
And
there's a lot of StarCraft units you could be. A lot of choices there.
While you guys think about it, though, let's see if you can figure out who this person is in this StarCraft challenge. Tara, show the people what they've won.
Ooh.
All right, guys, you know how this works. We'll reveal that person at the end of the show. So get a chance, get your guests in, who you think it is, and we'll reveal the answer.
I don't even know who it was.
Good.
Mystery demons.
That means it was a good segment.
Yes, very good, very good.
You want to throw us to the next one?
But wait, there's more.
Is there more?
I think.
You want to? Oh no. Do you want to send us to the next segment, Andy?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was another one to play. I'm like,
nope, just the one.
My bad. Just the one. Yes, I am ready. We have gone through the question of the day. We have done the StarCraft challenge. Let's talk about back in the day. Take a little trip to the past here. How far back are we going in the past?
I don't know. Let's see. Tara, send us back in the day.
I don't hear anything. Should music be playing?
There should be like sound and stuff.
Tara, I don't hear any sound. It's the first time I don't hear sound.
I'm gonna start it back.
planetaries, extra orbitals. I think if this game continues at this current pace, man, we will see nukes.
I think Classic is going to look to end it. No, as I say, he's going to put down a 5th base and back off.
He's being a bit timid here.
Yeah, I think he's got a fantastic army. Right after he got all of those feedbacks, I think he should have engaged, but...
What he looks like he wants to do is utilize the fact that Maru's lacked a 4th base for so long. Look at Classic's bank. He's adding a ton of gateways.
3 Ghost Academies on the way.
Yep. There they are. So we're going to see nukes, but 3 nukes on the way. Only one Ghost Academy can only have 1 nuke active at a time. That's why he has to mass Ghost Academies for this. That's why the amount of nukes he has is limited. And they're actually starting to cost him some money, to be honest.
Coming over here.
Probes
nuke is going to go down.
Probes to evacuate here meanwhile. He's just going to re-queue the nuke. Looks like he wants to kill the Nexus with nuke fire. These orbitals are so important, actually. Okay. He's also denying mining time with this, which is, you know, an important thing because Maru is starting to build his own bank. Now these warp prisms can actually allow him to drop High Templar and feed back like 8 ghosts, you know, if he can get that off. Just slowly trying to nuke push towards this base. The warp prism is trying to find those EMPs. Here they come. Oh, he goes for Storm instead.
That's a couple of really great storms there on all the ghosts, but nothing to follow it up.
Ghosts have so many hit points. Yeah. And they're just healed here. They have 100 hit health. All right, another nuke. This one goes off and kills a few of those cannons. Oh, and this Nexus will go down. In fact, the probes are not paying attention. He could get a little bit more for his bargain here. 18 probes and the Nexus.
That's a pretty good bargain, Wolf.
This Protoss army out here. Classic will have to kill that.
Classic is moving into the nuke.
He needs to get out of there.
Looks like he just barely will.
Trapped. Oh!
That was close, man.
What a tease. Okay. It's a free reign at the back. And it looks like Classic is confident. He can actually just take his engagement straight up here now. There's a lot of Mars in the back. More EMPs go down. But there's still no answer for those Tempests at the rear.
They're doing so much damage in the back, and still more storms coming down.
And
will there be enough Vikings on the ground? There's just enough stuff to take out all the Colossi,
Does he have an observer? Okay, he still does.
Oh, he does. And the Colossi swipes take out so many of the ghosts. It looks like Classic has done it.
Look at Maru's face. He looks defeated. Look at the map. Look at the supplies. Everything about Maru looks defeated. What a sick game we just watched, though. GG.
GG. Classic will take down Maru here for SK Telecom.
Nukes are such a beautiful thing.
That was incredible. As a Protoss, it hurt a little bit to watch that that last nuke on the Nexus fall, but nukes are so underutilized and just so amazing. I love watching them get used in game, especially by the pros like that.
The thing is, you won, so it's like I like Classic still won, which was I don't know, like if you are a Terran, it would make you cry. I think I'd make me cry if, you know, I'm watching this. I was like, oh my god, all that work for so many
all that
nukes.
damage, yeah, all that. They are very micro intensive. Just to get the ghost in the right position, not have it discovered. Try to put your nuke on a, you know, have the little red dot a little bit harder to see, maybe little tiny things that go into it that just make it so hard to pull off, and that of course big time delay that you have from casting it to act. It's probably, I think it's got to be the longest delay in a cast, right? Or for a casting spell, quote unquote. Because it takes what, 10 seconds to land? How long is it? I forget off the top of my head. I'm drawing a blank here, but it's a while. It takes a while to land. So
it is. It's something that the whole process of getting a nuke land is so anxiety inducing. I can't imagine.
But hey, if you can make it work. Well, and I really like it too, just because I get to see High Templar play when nukes are getting used, specifically against Protoss, of course. But just the battle between Ghosts and High Templar, I think, can be really, really cool, especially with the new changes in the patch coming on. That's really going to change the dynamic of that fight specifically with the feedback. Not going to be able to kill them outright. It's going to change things. Maybe nukes are going to be a little bit more viable now. You know, Ghosts can.
I don't know. There's a lot of those. There's a lot of those changes that are like, I don't know if they're going to really make it in, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it would be a decent one to add in. Feedback is a little bit strong. I think Artosis put it well. It's meant to be a deterrent. It's not meant to just outright kill someone. It's meant to stop the spells from being cast. It's it's a deterrent.
I disagree with that. It should totally be one of those things where like it should be. If you're thinking about lore, and I'm gonna bring a little bit lore in here. If you're thinking about lore, your magic should like go back into you and kill you. Like, except for like obviously a battle cruiser, the whole idea of battle cruisers don't have energy anymore. That makes sense. But like you're a High Templar and you're about to cast Sonic Storm, and someone's like, "Oh, this energy speed fed back into you. You should die." Like,
yeah, it's like almost getting surged by a ton of electricity or something. Fries all the circuits, as it were.
You should die. You should die.
All right, that's a good argument for it.
Speaking of feedback, let's take a look at some of the art from people around the community. And after that, we'll introduce our guests. Until that, though, let's see what people have done. Tuferdal brought up a really awesome part where he's like, "I love that you guys brought the segment back to the scene. So much great artwork from people in the StarCraft 2 scene." And I have to agree. I
absolutely
love first of all, I love looking for the art, which is a whole lot of fun in and of itself. And then second of all, it's super, what's the word? Inspiring to see what people do, like in terms of the work they create for the game. It's really inspiring. I love it.
Well, that's their passion taking physical form. It's so much of their passion and love for the game. You can see it in that artwork. It takes hours and hours upon hours to create stuff like that. I do a little bit of digital art, very crappy, obviously nothing as quality as what we just saw there, but it's a lot of work. So it's very cool to see that there's that much passion still for this type of thing. And yeah, it's just cool to look at.
Absolutely, it's so awesome.
See it in through somebody else's eyes almost. Because we did see a little bit of a little divergence in the artistic style there between those SCVs with legs. I don't think I've ever seen SCVs with legs, but I like it. It's a little mech unit work. Very Terran, very very Terran. So
who's to say they don't have legs? Realistically, like I don't know.
It was probably an older model or something. It wasn't until 20 years later that they invented the little grav boost thing or something. You had to start somewhere. So no, it's very cool stuff.
I always imagine SCVs to be like the loaders from like Aliens, like Ripley's loader.
Oh, totally. Yeah, the thing she uses to fight out. Oh, yeah, that does absolutely kind of.
That's how I always envision it.
An SCV. Yeah, very cool.
All right, so let's talk BarCrafts. BarCrafts. Have you been to a BarCraft, Andy?
I wish. It's something that's near and dear to my heart, even though I've never actually attended one. I feel like here, because I'm in Denver, in Colorado, and I feel like somebody was putting some on for just a little bit, maybe a very small period of time that they were happening, but it never really gained any traction as far as I know. I just wasn't able to go myself to check it out, but I think it would be very cool to see them popping up in more cities. It would definitely help grow the scene of StarCraft, because esports itself has obviously taken off over the past 10, 15, whatever amount of years. It would be really cool to see that start, taking off in bars. We watch football in bars. Why not StarCraft? Why not Overwatch? Why not, whatever game you're into? So hopefully it'll make it my way soon. But you're going to a BarCraft in just a couple of days, are you not?
Couple of hours.
Couple of hours. Lucky guy in Southern California.
Yeah, so for those who don't know what a BarCraft is, it's pretty much as Andy described, the idea of simply watching StarCraft in a bar during a major tournament. And they spring up, in the golden era, have sprung up all over different parts of North America. And the whole concept and the idea behind it is getting together in parts of the community to enjoy the game you love. I think
Have some drinks, make some
have
friends.
some drinks, and even though esports has grown, you mentioned this, I feel like no other game does BarCrafts like StarCraft other than Dota. I think Dota is probably the only one that has something similar.
Yeah.
Like, like with pub stomps being the only other equivalency.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. I saw that on one of our guests coming up was gonna talk a little more about it. But what exactly is a pub stump? Is that just the name of the BarCraft, or?
Yeah. Also, PubCraft, which is what we're putting on.
Yeah.
PubCraft is tomorrow, which is the BarCraft we're going to. That's just the name of the BarCraft series. But BarCrafts have historically been StarCraft related, and pub stomps are the equivalency, but they're Dota related. As I've
Gotcha. Okay, because I'd never heard of a pub stomp before. I like that term.
Yeah, pub stomp is Dota related, so they would do those for the internet. Those usually show up around the international. Like they don't normally happen during the other tournaments. They only happen during the international. That I've seen. Like different countries may be different where they do it for all the majors, but BarCrafts and pub stomps are based off of BarCrafts. StarCraft started off first with BarCrafts in different states, different cities, and what have you, and people get together. So we're going to go, guys and gals. We're going to find out and talk about BarCrafts and with people who've made them. But I just actually know one of our guests are currently busy, so we'll keep on talking just a little bit. Give them an opportunity to. Oh, never mind.
We're good.
Sounds like we're all good. All right, let's do it. To talk about BarCrafts, we got two organizers of BarCrafts themselves. David Hyperturtle Japuntich and Caleb Cable Finn. Wow, I always butcher my intros. Welcome, guys, to the show.
Welcome, Hyperturtle. Welcome, Cable. Thank you guys for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Awesome. I'm so glad to have both of you here. Hyperturtle, you represent Minnesota BarCrafts, and Cable, you're here on the SoCal BarCrafts or SoCal Esports.
Yeah, buddy.
Both of these gentlemen here have organizing BarCrafts for like I'm going to say for a good amount of time that my research has shown me. But why don't we do a little bit of introduction? You tell us about yourself so I don't look like a crazy person saying something that's not true. Hyperturtle, why don't you start us off first? Tell us about your overall. Give us your high rundown.
Who are you? Tell us.
I'm a StarCraft guy. Like all of you. We're one. I'm here in Minnesota. I used to organize a lot of Nintendo Street Pass meetups where you take your 3DS and you tag each other and get digital things that you could use in game. And I was organizing some local area network parties. And I actually didn't start Minnesota BarCraft. It was in full bloom already. A handful of people were doing it. I'd been doing some StarCraft network parties, so I attended some, and it was something. They were using a theater in one of the suburbs. They had some of the waitresses were wearing StarCraft T-shirts. They had menus with mixed drinks that had StarCraft themes. There were sponsors that were giving them computer accessories, StarCraft books and collector's editions, and they were having raffles. It was quite a sight, and over time, along with some of the popularity, it stagnated a bit. And one of the guys who was running it, he was going to give up the meetup group, and I'm just like, hey, I gotta have a hand in this. So I've been doing what I can to at least be getting some small ones going, not like they used to be. But
keeping the dream alive.
What's the timeline for that? Is that like?
Well, I think they got big around maybe 2011, at least around here, a little bit before Heart of the Swarm came out. They got really popular. Word was spreading, and then I think things started to slow down a little bit with the Korean dominance and all these tournaments, with the swarm hosts, with the other stuff people love to cite when they're talking about it kind of falling behind. And the last really big one, that Blizzard was encouraging people to do BarCrafts for was the one where the one in late 2015 where they were doing the Legacy of the Void cinematic reveal.
When did you take over the BarCraft, Minnesota BarCraft scene?
A couple years ago.
So roughly
I guess
around.
a little bit after Beyond's win, so early 2017, I guess.
Okay, cool.
Would you say you've seen much growth in that time period? Is it starting to catch on? Are people getting interested? Does anybody walk in and be like, "What the hell is happening here? Like, what is this? This looks cool."
Oh, those are my favorite, actually. But especially the person who's like, "What the hell is this?" And he's like, "Wait a moment, is that StarCraft?" We've grown a little bit. Honestly, the BlizzCon coming up, that's one of the first events we've planned since I took over where it actually looks like it is going to be a big thing. We've had, I think, about 20 people sign up, a couple of them from out of state, actually. I think the scene has been growing too, like a lot of people have been saying. I think that kind of started, there was some attention with the free-to-play changes. There was some big attention with Scarlet getting her big IEM win. And it was a lot of those people were the same ones who were watching BarCrafts before. It was like, wait, I remember Scarlet. Wait, she won an Olympic tournament? What? And people started to ask questions. We started getting a lot more activity in the Facebook page and a lot more to talk about there too. And we've kind of just been feeling things out since then. And I got to say, I'm really excited about the WCS Global Finals because we got a legitimate brew house that does its own beers, and we got some space set aside there without any strings attached.
All right, so perfect. Let's.
Can I ask one more question?
Oh, let's get Cable's introduction in here, and then we'll start pooling questions from everyone. Cable,
I've just got so many questions.
I know. Let's just hear Cable first. Let's hear his introduction, and then we'll pull everyone's questions and see what we can come up with.
Cool.
Cable, hit us up.
Hey, so yeah, I'm Cable. I run SoCal Esports. We've been doing BarCrafts since the early days in 2011. I think we started with like MLG Orlando 2011, or maybe that was our second one. But yeah, we're here in Southern California, so we have the advent of Blizzard being right here and being extremely supportive, and we've always really loved. They show up in person because they love their game. I think that's one of the coolest things about interacting with them is that they really, really love their game. The Morheims would come, Amy and Mike Morheim, and the whole StarCraft esports community would come and just really show their support. It was really fun. The first one was, I think, like 300 people. We took over Buffalo Wild Wings. And it's kind of funny. I went to them and I was like, hey, we got this thing. We want to have some people watch video games, kind of like, people watch sports. And you guys are the big sports bar. You have like TVs and projectors everywhere. You have like 100 of them. Would it be cool if we showed, video games on one of the corners? And they're like, yeah. We talked to like probably 15 different bars, and Buffalo Wild Wings guy was the most supportive. And he's like, yeah, if you have 5 people, if you have 50 people, whatever. So the first time we had 300 people. And then the second time we had 400.
What year was that though? What year was that?
2011. Yeah.
So
and
then that's a golden era.
Yeah, I'd say 2011, 2012 was definitely the golden era of BarCraft. I mean, StarCraft was really the predominant champion of esports at the time. It was igniting the growth of North American esports again. And we were just kind of following on the heels of whatever Korea, the crumbs that Korea would drop for us. And it was a great time. MLG was really exciting back then. They've dropped StarCraft since, but I played in MLGs. I was only ever Diamond League, but I just loved playing in them. They were so much fun. And you get to play alongside or have the opportunity to play one of your favorite pros against them in the open bracket, and that was cool. So those are the ones we followed. People were super hyped. We did our best to make them as exciting as possible also. I put a link in the chat to an image of some of the menus that we made, kind of theming some of the BarCraft or the Buffalo Wild Wings items after StarCraft concepts or units or whatever, and that was fun. You know, Blizzard gives all kinds of swag, like Hyper Turtle mentioned. They just give all kinds of great stuff to support us. And like he also mentioned, we got sponsors. TT Esports back in the day, if you guys remember, TT Esports was like one of the big sponsors of StarCraft, and they helped us out a lot. MSI helped us out a lot. I'm sure I'm forgetting some of the best sponsors from the old days, but it was a great time. I really enjoyed it. And as Hyper Turtle mentioned, you know, things kind of tapered off with the popularity. I think saturation became an issue. You know, there was just always a BarCraft. There was always an event going on, and you know, there's a core level of supportive people. I think the hardcore one we did was a GSL finals, and that was like, I don't know, at 1 a.m. and we were able to somehow convince the staff to stay from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. and they're like, never again. We're never doing this again. but it was great. It was a good time, man. Yeah, I mean, big shout outs to like Rob Simpson, if anybody remembers him.
Oh man, Rob Simpson, that's an old name I haven't heard for a long time.
That guy, I owe pretty much everything in esports to that guy. He's amazing.
I remember him from Red Bull.
Yeah, he went on to Red Bull after Blizzard Esports.
Yeah.
If I could actually cut in for a moment, you know, one of the things is it's not just about attendance either. I mean, you know, you could theoretically run a BarCraft with like 5 or 10 people, but the thing is, you know, you want space in a bar, especially the party room or something. More and more, a lot of them are asking for, you know, some sort of guaranteed food or drink minimum.
Yeah.
So even on one of their slower days, you know, more and more of them are saying, you know, we need you to commit to at least $500 in food and drink purchases, and if you don't reach that, you're going to have to make up the difference. And it's like, ooh.
Well, that's actually, and now Andy, we can totally let's fire off our questions. But I'm going to jump in front of you because I don't know. I'm pointing at you, just like I'm going to point at you because I want to know drink minimum. That brings up such an awesome question about drink minimums, the idea of drink minimums, and do you find that with the larger chains, they're more likely to ask you for a drink minimum, or is that more the smaller like venues they'll ask for drink minimums? Either one of you may answer. So.
Kind of like who's it easier maybe to get in cahoots with?
Yeah,
I guess.
Personally,
go ahead.
Yeah, okay, I'll go ahead.
You go ahead.
We've never actually gotten one going at a chain, and I know that Buffalo Wild Wings does some of those Heroes of the Dorm. They've done some Hearthstone stuff too, but you know, we were always trying to look for sort of, you know, a space of our own, and a lot of it came down to, did we know someone? You know, did we know a StarCraft fan who worked at this place or that place? And you know, that's one of the other things, you know, along with stricter policies, some of those contacts we had, you know, moved on to, you know, corporate jobs. You know, they stopped working at restaurants, and so that's another thing that's really exciting about the one coming up is, you know, we've got another place where a big StarCraft fan actually contacted us. He's like, "Hey, could we host one here?" We're like, "I think that'd be cool." Yeah.
Is that like a smaller sort of restaurant, or is that like a pub?
It's a local chain, is what it is. It's cool. Like I said, this one's going to be a brew house over in Arden Hills. And so they, you know, they do their own beers, and they've got some really great cod. My wife and I tried it out, and we like the food, we like the space, so I can't wait to see how it turns out.
Yeah, I'd say a brew house is awesome place for that kind of thing.
Yeah, Cable, what about you? Drink minimums, food minimums.
We ended up having to sign contracts with the Buffalo Wild Wings that we were doing it with, because we were impacting their standard business so much that we had to guarantee that there'd be X amount of sales. Thankfully, we never really hit that minimum, or we never really hit the minimum on the bottom side. We were always above it, but it was somewhat of a challenge and worry. But I think, to mimic Hyper Turtle's comments, it really is who you know and who's just willing to give you a shot. Because like I said, we went to 15 different bars, and people were like, "That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard in my life. you know, get out of my bar, right? And but then this guy was super chill. He was like, I think he was newer to the company. He was the new marketing manager. He's just trying to get activations going. And so he's like, yeah, we'll help you out, man. No problem. 5 people, 50 people, whatever you got, man. Whatever we got you. And man, he got major promoted after that. Our second one, they told us we outsold the Super Bowl on both food and beer. They ran out of pint glasses. So, I mean, he was pretty stoked. But okay, that's the peak years. Leading on later in time, yeah, Buffalo Wild Wings, we started to like not have enough people, and we were like, all right, you know what, when it's not we're not worth risking the minimums. So we found another local small mom and pop bar that was really chill. Their AV system was garbage, and we had to figure out how to tweak it to be able to show it on all the TVs. But you know, they were really supportive, and I mean, we would have like 15 people show up, and it was still a lot of fun. It was still super fun. We still had giveaways. Yeah, so he's right that attendance isn't the only thing that matters. The engagement, the people, the hype, the excitement, that's all a really big part of it.
What was your minimum, actually, if you don't mind sharing that?
You know, to be honest, I don't even remember off the top of my head. I should probably go look at the contracts, but that's 6 years.
Was it like, is it like hundreds, or are we talking about like, you know, small hundreds? Or are we talking about maybe thousands? Like if you were to take just a quick guesstimate off the top of your head.
It was hundreds. It wasn't thousands, thankfully.
Okay.
But thankfully what they also did is we organized ourselves as essentially a nonprofit organization, and they gave us kind of a kickback for the food that was dependent on us channeling that into a tournament that they then sponsored, right? So the prize pool of the tournament was their kickback from their food, because I guess they do that for standard charities that they'll work with, right? Like if you have a charity and you come in, then they'll do 20% or 10% or whatever they negotiate as a contribution to your charity, you know, from what you draw.
Oh.
So then I was like, hey, can we like leverage that into a tournament, which we'll put you guys as the sponsor of? And so we ended up doing like a 1.5 year long tournament series that kind of like toured Southern California with that prize pool, which was also super, super fun. One of the greatest experiences that I remember having.
Well, that's interesting. So did
You
you
guys are
stay?
kind of answering my questions already.
Yeah.
Before
my thing is like, did you stay in like that one venue mainly, or did you do multiple venues? Like Wild
I have
Wings?
done a lot of venues. I did 2 different Buffalo Wild Wings. I did that mom and pop bar. I did another bar up in LA for an event. I did another bar up in like about 2 hours away. A Dota team, actually Beyond the Summit, back when they were like little tiny. Beyond the Summit contacted me and said, hey, we see what you're doing with BarCraft. Could you do one for Dota for us at our, you know, Dota Beyond the Summit event? And like, we're going to bring the players and have like a meet and greet at your event. And again, I had to like tweak this garbage AV system. I had to buy this like 18 times splitter and buy a bunch of HDMI, like 50-foot cables. And it was nightmare. But yeah, I've done a lot of different event locations.
Yeah, that's where the guys who were running things when I was just a standard member had things down, because they were doing things at a theater. So they were actually using the movie projection screen.
Oh.
And it was a thing of beauty.
Now that's dope. With other games, we've been able to leverage it into larger screens. League of Legends, Dota, I think we did an Overwatch one. We were able to get bigger crowds. The largest event we've ever had for a viewing party was 2,400 people. That was for a World Finals for League of Legends. And we had that at a local fairgrounds, and in their big hangar with a 40-foot projector. So we've had varying levels of sizes and stuff over the years. But StarCraft, we kept it at the bar, and that was fun. But AV is huge. It's like, if you look at any of the guides online, they'll say like, number 1, check the AV. Well, actually, number 1, check the internet. Number 2, check the AV. Because without those things, you have nothing. And so, you know, it's you could have 0 people and still have something on the TV, and at least you got something to show for it. But if you have 100 people and nothing on the TV, you have a bunch of angry StarCraft fans is what you have.
Yeah. So here's a question. I'm gonna start with you, Hyper Turtle. When have you ever run into a technical problem when starting? Like, tell us a time when you've had a technical problem running a BarCraft. that's
Well,
sort of paused you,
there-
paused the BarCraft?
Well, because a lot of these weren't when I was in charge, but those could actually be fun, to tell you the truth, because that's when everyone would get creative, and well, one or two people were scrambling to figure out why the heck everything was just stuck buffering or whatever. They some of us would come up to the microphone and be like, okay, we're going to have a Gangnam Style dance contest. That's or we want each of you to come up here one by one and give your best impression of one of the unit quotes, and we're going to give one of these raffle prizes to the person who gets the most cheers. So StarCraft enthusiasts can be pretty creative. But it also meant that maybe next time we'd be looking at somewhere else. Maybe and we tried a few other places. Like there was actually like one of those bars that tried to have a bunch of arcade games all around the dance floor, and it looked really neat on paper, but none of the seats were next to each other. So yeah, I mean technical issues, but they were the ones that would immediately come to mind, which were, okay, something isn't connecting, and we're gonna have to kill some time until something does.
When you had that when you to do the Gangnam Style dance off, what was that event like? What was that event about first before you had to kill time? I'm curious.
Well, that was one of the WCS events. I think it. Yeah, I remember that one because that was one of the really cool ones they did with WCS, where they actually had the voice actors for Jim Raynor and Arcturus Mengsk. I think James Harper and Robert Clotworthy. So they did a neat little interview with them where they confirmed that we've started recording lines for Legacy of the Void, and it wasn't until quite a while later that the excitement got a little bit dimmed when you heard they were pretty much rewriting a good chunk of the campaign. But and they had this great finish where they had Pult and Jaedong come out, and they had the two voice actors introduce them as their characters. So it was like, war is coming, and no one symbolizes it more than the tyrant. But so it was, it was semifinals, finals, a bunch of flavor stuff in between when they did a little bit wackier things, like having a free for all, that kind of thing. So,
when did you run into a technical problem with that? Then? Like
semifinals. So
okay.
Earlier on, that was the nice thing. That way you can kind of find your footing again afterwards. And what people leave any entertainment event with is whatever they wrapped up with. So you end up forgiving a lot of earlier stuff if the later stuff kick ass.
It's all about the finale.
Always the finale.
Exactly. The curtain.
Cable, what about yourself? What technical problems? When was there a time that you had technical problems that you had to deal with?
Why?
Tell us a story.
When have I not had technical problems?
What's the worst technical problem?
What is the expression? The vehicle of esports is technology, and the vehicle breaks down constantly. It's what we all deal with, right? ESL dealt with it in China, like that whole friggin' tournament just shut down because their internet went down. So, man, the biggest thing was internet at the beginning. We weren't getting enough down speed, and so like I went in and I tested the Wi-Fi at the place, and it was good.
Wait, which one? Tell us where, like, which tournament this was. Like, pull from your memory. What were you guys watching? Where was it?
MLG Orlando, and we were watching at Buffalo Wild Wings. So I had of course I had take off work early that day, right? To it was on a Friday. I take off work. We used to do 3-day BarCrafts, by the way. We do Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all day, the entire stinking MLG open bracket, all the way to the finals. And some people would come. For me, it was but for other people, they would come all 3 days and love it, dude. Sometimes people couldn't come on Friday because they were working. They came on Saturday, Sunday, they were doing whatever with their families or church or whatever. But everybody had their day they could come. But you got your hardcore people, they came all 3 days, and that was awesome. But so I'm trying to get everything ready. There's probably about 2 dozen people already there, including a whole table full of Blizzard people. So I'm sweating. I'm like, oh my God, I have to make sure I do a good job. There's Blizzard people here, right? I gotta do a good job. And so I have this I don't know. We were running off of their Wi-Fi. I had tested it before. It was showing 20 down. But apparently that's like only one person. The second you start adding to their router, it would just clog up completely. And so all these, StarCraft nerds are coming in, tapping onto the Wi-Fi with their phones and sucking all the bandwidth. And then they started watching the stream on their phones. And so I couldn't show it on the TVs, right? So then one of the Blizzard guys is like, he's got his hotspot on his, I don't know, tablet or something, and we hooked up to that. And then I actually drove down the streets of Verizon and bought a real hotspot and just signed up for a contract right there. My first BarCraft, give me a 4G LTE device. I need it now. They like hand it to me. They signed me up for a contract. I probably paid way too much, but I took that thing there and I got that BarCraft running for the rest of the 3 days. Then
the show must go on.
The show must go on, man. I kept that hotspot for like 2 years. We ran BarCraft off of it the whole time because they never upgraded their internet. I guess business internet is substantially more expensive than home internet. But then, okay, so then the next night, Saturday night, that's our bumping night. We had so many people show up. That's when we like outsold, the Super Bowl. And it's super awesome. The lights are dim, but everybody's having a great time. There's all these TVs on there. Boom. Everything shuts down.
I knew it. Power had to be power.
The lights go out, the sound goes out, the video go out, everything goes out. Turned out that the preamp for their whole AV system died. And it like shut down the breaker, which shut down all this stuff. And everyone's just like laughing. Everyone's drinking and laughing because, everybody's had 4 drinks or so by now. But like, it was hilarious. I don't know.
Were you laughing though? Were you laughing?
I was crying pretty much.
I was like, I know what you were laughing.
But not. So we flipped the circuit breaker back on and we bypassed the preamp. And we were able to get it up and running again. We just turned the audio down. I think we shut a couple of the TVs down, so that it wasn't like pulling so much. But that was a nightmare, dude.
Have you guys, just kind of speaking of problems and that kind of thing, have you had to deal a lot with belligerent people or just people getting too drunk or anything like that? Or has it been mostly low key, just people there having a good time, everyone does their thing, goes home?
Like, is it just
my events
technology?
are a bit smaller.
Like what kind of crowd does it draw?
So
What?
I think the events we've done here have been, well, a tiny bit smaller than the SoCal stuff, by the sound of things.
Mhm.
It's been pretty lighthearted. I mean, people didn't like travel, cross country or anything to get there. Things worked out. It was great. I think it was more just kind of if things didn't go that well, people would kind of shrug, and I'm guessing a couple of them might not have come back if they weren't able to stay for when we were able to get things moving better. But I don't remember anyone ever getting angry, and I don't remember any behavior problems either. It was pretty laid back.
All right.
Because alcohol can definitely trigger people. Like they can get
Flipping Protoss is overpowered. Like tear up the bar or something.
That's something that I can imagine with enough alcohol and like the screen going black or buffering, and they're just like, screw this. But
I'd say like the most irritated anybody ever got was at our stream choice, because MLG used to have like A, B, and C streams, and they would really want to be watching their guy on their stream. And we could only pick one, right? And so, a couple people were like pretty irritated that we weren't showing the one that they wanted, but they were outvoted. We used to do like votes, like how many people want to watch this one, how many people want to watch this one, and
democracy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. Well, a couple people got kind of irritated at. There were like 3 or 4 TVs that were not the same model as all the rest, and so they had this like they were slightly off shifted and up. So like imagine like the screen being like this part, and you're not like, but you weren't seeing the mini map, and you weren't seeing I don't know, something else. And so they were pretty annoyed that like their seat that they had that was looking at that TV, it sucked of a view. Is there any way you can fix that TV? Nah, man, I'm really sorry. We tried messing with the settings and I can't do it. Like that's stupid, man. Let's go watch at home. Like, okay, fine.
Really?
I hope you have fun. Yeah.
Wow.
We had somebody steal our banner, which was a hilarious thing. We had this awesome banner printed up. It was like, I don't know, $100. It said like BarCraft. There's this cool BarCraft logo, but like you're trying to make it a thing. And by the second event, it was gone. And we're like, who the heck stole this? So we put it on Reddit. We're like, please help. Someone stole our banner. And somebody was their roommate and saw the Reddit post and was like, oh yeah, they were drunk and they were just being stupid. And they gave it back to us.
In the end, it all turned out okay.
I wish
Yeah.
if I knew that ahead of the show, I'd probably like research and look for that Reddit post, like dig into the archives, and like that would have been so funny. Someone's like, "Oh yeah, my roommate stole your banner. Sorry."
Yeah. I mean,
it's a good
if I
piece of
could say
memorabilia.
the opposite though, like we had so many great memories. I don't know if I'm stealing your future question here, but like so many really cool things come out of it. Like not just like, oh yay, people had fun, but like, dude, a couple met at the BarCraft and they're now married with a kid. And like they invited us to their wedding in Seattle because like we were instrumental in them meeting, and they like that was really, I mean, how do you beat that kind of stuff, dude?
Would they name their kid Tassadar or
No.
something cool like
I won't reveal too much information. I'll just say one of them was a Blizzard employee and the other one was a super fan, and now they're together.
Oh,
That's cute.
Yeah, it's really, really neat.
That's
BarCraft, bringing people together.
It really did. That's the
I want to circle back on community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before because community is a big thing. I think everyone can agree about community and how BarCrafts bring people together. But there's one thing I really want to, before we jump off the non-technical part, have you guys, either of you, experienced, and we'll go with Hyper Turtle first, have you experienced trouble with non-esports people at the venues that you've been at? Like, have they, someone's like, I want to watch the game today. Why are you guys watching video games?
And that's actually one of the reasons why we, that concept is the reason why we usually tried to get like a party room, something, where there, where only people who wanted to watch had to watch. And yeah, we definitely had a lot of people, a lot of non-esports people who would kind of come in and just kind of, well, how about that?
Yeah, I imagine it's more of a thing of
this is a video game.
What is this crap?
I don't remember anyone saying that it was what was wrong with youth today or anything like that. But definitely some people kind of puzzled fascination, I think, is the worst we got.
Would they ask you ask you to explain it, or like ask you why do people watch video games on TV? Like, were they asking you the basic meta questions of like, why would you guys watch video games?
They weren't asking anything like why they're going Hydralisks when
no.
They'd ask a little bit about it, and telling someone who hadn't really heard about it that in Korea they treated it like like any other sport, and it filled arenas. They're like, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, it was their sport because there weren't other countries doing it at that level, that's for sure. And I'm not just talking skill level, but production level, business level. So no, people who did ask were pretty curious about that because they'd heard of video game tournaments, but I think they were thinking of like, the movie The Wizard, where, some little kids going cross country and like playing 2 NES games for a limited time at in front of an audience or something.
Man, I wish it would still be like that. I'd like to go.
Video Armageddon, that was what it was called. Yeah, it's all coming back to me now. What a weird movie. All right. But no, I think people people actually found the idea kind of fascinating, even if they'd never heard of it before and they had no idea what the hell was going on the screen.
I said visually, it's very pleasing to watch, even if you don't know what's going on. There's lasers, there's explosions, there's all sorts of stuff going on. It's interesting. You're like, what is that? What's happening? Yeah, it ignites the curiosity.
War of the Worlds, right? Is that what you guys are watching?
Yeah, that's all. That's
World War III. I don't know, something like that.
Now, Cable, what about yourself? Big city. Have you ever had like sports fans coming up to you being like, "Hey, what's this going on?"
Yeah. Usually the Buffalo Wild Wings we primarily did it in was split down the middle with an open bar section and then a seating section, like a lot of restaurants are. And the open bar section was allowed for like real sports. And then our dining section was where all the video games were, StarCraft was. And so usually it wasn't a problem because if they really wanted to go watch sports, they could go in there. But there were a couple times when we overtook the entire restaurant, and so all the screens were showing video games. And a
Oh.
couple little groups of people wanted to come in and watch a game, and they're like, that's dumb, stupid nerds, freaking blah blah blah, and they like, we're out of here, man. Like, but to be fair, I didn't really have to deal with them very much because I was up at the front of the venue where like the AV was and monitoring all of our giveaways and stuff like that. So, and the entrance was at the back, so I didn't really have to deal with that too much. The restaurant was really chill about being able to do that. On a positive sense, though, there were a lot of people who would come up to me and say, "What is this? What are you guys doing?" And I'd, explain to them, this is StarCraft, it's a video game, it's competitive, blah, 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 as Hyper Turtle mentioned. And they were like really intrigued. They're like, this many people are into this kind of a thing? And they're, I said, yeah, people, they like it. They really like it. It's growing. It's a new industry. And I would kind of like sense what their interests were. Like if they were a mom, I try to like talk to them about how it's like good for education. Like if kids are getting good at this game, then they, it excites their multitasking skills. If it was like an older man, I'd go into like business sense and concepts, this is becoming $1 billion industry, they say. That's old, right? It's like $4 billion industry now. But it was really cool. We had some people specifically say that like they like watching video games or they like playing video games. They'd never watched one in a bar. They'd never seen StarCraft before. What is this game? This is awesome. Or this is a cool one. We'd have couples come where one of them, it could have been the girl or the guy. There were both, to be very fair, was the fan of StarCraft. And then the couple, their partner just came along with them. And the partner would like be kind of bored or annoyed, and they'd try and figure out what was going on. So what we ended up doing was creating a what is StarCraft? And it just kind of had some very basic outlines like, this is StarCraft is a game about resource management and defeating the other person, right?
Is that a video or is that like a flowchart?
It was an 8.5 by 11 sheet that was just like, here's the basics. And people came up to us and were like, do you have more of those? Like, I'd really like to have, so I'd give people like a couple
Like
of
a
them,
handout.
yeah, it's like a handout.
Yeah,
and we end up putting one on every table at every event so that people could have an opportunity, and
that's great.
It was great. It was a great educational opportunity.
That's really
well. I could use that when I was trying to teach my dad about StarCraft. He just could not grasp the concept of like the 3 different races, and he just kept focused on it. A handout would have been nice.
Yeah,
something a lot of people don't get is video games can be social. They think about they think about kids on the internet. Who knows how far away from each other playing with other faceless gamers. Instead of going out, instead of having dates. And there's something really, I think really revealing when you see a bunch of people enjoying the stuff together, and all kinds of different people. And they're cheering, they're talking about everything from how the Caspa era ended to will there ever be another appearance by Ulrazaj in a campaign or a novel? And it's like, and at the same time, I think it's kind of intriguing for the people who are even participating in it too. It's like, I've never talked about this to someone in person. This guy knows what knows where I'm going with this. Yeah. This feels good.
No, it's fun to talk StarCraft. It's what other game can you theory craft and talk about so many different strategies and ways to approach it and all the different players, and there's obviously some out there, but StarCraft is just very good for that. I think.
It's very good. Having an 8-year history of this game and a 20-year history of the franchise, because it really evolved, and it's fascinating how it's changed.
Yeah, I think that's really one of the beauties of BarCrafts is that opportunity to connect with people that share the same passion as you, right? Face to face, and get that social opportunity. So
yeah, it's like people talking football at the bar. Hey, did you see the new quarterback they got? These players are all that. It's the exact same principle. You connect with them over this topic and have a good time.
And Absolutely. just like you can enjoy the Super Bowl if you don't know what a line of scrimmage is. You can see that there's big things happening. You can tell by the reaction of everyone when it's a big deal. Yes. You can invite someone over for a Super Bowl party, and they're like, "Well, I don't know anything about football," and you're like, "Do you know anything about commercials?" Yeah, I got the game for you. and there's entry points, and there's a lot of I love the personalities involved for one thing, and yeah, that's a lot of great music, a lot of great effects, a lot of very fascinating visuals when you got kind of all a sci-fi thrown in a blender like that, and then thrown into a game against each other.
Very cool stuff.
All right.
What's our next? All right, I've got one. So we've kind of talked about it before, but just what's been the hardest aspect of trying to put on one of these BarCrafts? Is it the monetary aspect? Is it, we've talked about, just finding the venue obviously can be a struggle. Is there something else that it's just a huge hindrance, just getting people to come?
Yeah, there you go. You beat me to
it.
and it's a tricky thing with meetup groups or any kind of social media get-togethers. It is very easy to get people to become members. It is very easy to get people to ask, when's the next one going to be? Getting them to commit. I mean, heck, it's not even that hard to get them to RSVP, but to get them to show up, it's tricky. And when it doesn't happen, that feels kind of empty. Especially, like I've got a little kid, and so I gotta set up a babysitter, all that stuff. And if I'm hanging out there with one other person, it's like feels feels a bit draining. And that's the thing. If it it's a lot like playing ladder. If you got to get up, you gotta figure out what you could do differently in this circumstance. Got to give it another shot.
I might use it as like a quote for the episode. It's like, running a BarCraft is like playing ladder.
Everything's
hard
like
and stressful.
And the only way you're going to get better at it is to keep trying it out.
Yeah, you just got to keep spamming games, man. That's all you do.
Is there a Cannon Rush equivalent to putting on a BarCraft? Like just throw it together and hope it works?
Have it at your house?
Would be me inviting myself into someone else's house, I think.
Yeah. We had the same answer. I've known groups of guys who just like, throw it up there like, hey, anyone on my Facebook friends list want to come hang out and watch, StarCraft this weekend, I
think it's a good way to start it off. You start getting a group together that way, and then maybe take it to the bar after that, have them bring their friends, spouses, whatever.
Start somewhere.
That's like, super low. That's a super low cost way of doing it, right? Like,
absolutely.
And we've done it before, but it's you always want to be a little bit cautious. You almost want to meet some of the people ahead of time, depending.
Exactly.
It's like, is this guy going to leave a widow mine right outside my garage? It's safer in public, but also if it's a social space, there's a kind of more of legitimacy to it too. It kind of designates it as a little bit of a bigger deal than. So yeah, definitely a good place to start, but not where you want to stop.
Is there a stopping point? Has there ever been a moment where you've questioned, why am I doing this? Is it even worth doing this again?
Wait, let's see. I want to hear what Cable's like. For Cable, what was his technical? Not technical. I forgot our main question.
Biggest challenge.
The hardest part. Biggest challenge.
Yes, biggest challenge.
I think it was just the people, right? Just getting the people.
Yeah, I would agree. The people. Keeping it exciting is helpful to getting people to come, and I think it was. As the relative popularity waned, trying to keep your own, like local popularity strong was a challenge. And that eventually that's why we stopped doing them consistently. I would have loved to keep going just forever. But we haven't run an official BarCraft locally for a few years. There have been a couple guys who've tried to do BarCrafts locally, and I'll just give them whatever support I can and hope that they, do well. And hey, man, the second that things look up, or if Blizzard wants to make something happen again, we can make it happen, baby. But yeah, until the interest is guaranteed back. Like Hyper Turtle said, he's got a kid, he's got a family. I now have 2 kids and a family, and I can't just dedicate my whole entire weekend to something that's going to be a fruitless endeavor. And I love StarCraft. I will always love StarCraft. It's one of my favorite games of all time. And I will, shoot the breeze with anybody about it, talk strategy, talk history, everything. But you got to put your family, your work, your priorities first.
Right, absolutely. All right,
So
Andy,
much
you
of
go
it
back to
comes down to hype. You gotta convince people it's a big deal, and it's tricky. It's tricky if it's one person who's like a community organizer or something. It really helps when it's being talked about by Blizzard or by major StarCraft figures, and and people start asking, "Huh, is there one of those in my town?"
Yeah.
And one of the things I'd like to see again. I'd like to see the term BarCraft thrown around in some bigger venues.
Mhm.
Yeah,
on some
that's a good
louder
point about the awareness and the publicity behind it, because back in the day we used to have Blizzard would like openly post like, here are the BarCraft lists that are coming up, and Reddit was really supportive of BarCraft advertisement posts. I don't know how they are now. I haven't seen any major BarCraft posts come up on Reddit in a while. But even people like DJ Wheat was always the kind of like people's champion, like the community champion, and he used to talk about BarCrafts and hype them up. And this is how we get this legit, guys. You got to go out there and show the business owners, take over the bars, man. This is awesome, And Slasher would throw in his whatever comments, but as he still does on his Twitter. Follow @Slasher. He's actually I actually really like his stuff, to be honest. Like, he has some stupid stuff, but for the most part, I like his perspective on things. But
I love Live on 3. It's definitely one of my inspirations to this show was DJ Weed's Live on 3 show. I love it. I'm a big
Dude,
fan of that show.
it's a great show. He was always, I mean, he helped out with StarCraft a lot, actually. Day 9 used to help out, kind of like giving hype to the BarCraft idea. And when you have these big like leaders of the community promoting ideas, not necessarily brands or not necessarily like products, but ideas that help the community can latch onto and build for themselves. I mean, that's how you grow a community, right? So I feel
Concept of BarCrafts, getting people to go to a BarCraft, not like any BarCraft, but like telling people get out of your homes, enjoy, and go to a BarCraft and have fun with like
just building the hype. Make it seem like it's fun to go to. Oh, I should go spend my Saturday doing that. That sounds like fun because this cool guy said so. And
that's really isn't that the challenge of BarCrafts in general? It's like you're not even competing with other BarCrafts or other entertainment or other things people could do on a Saturday or a Sunday, right? That's like
always
the main competition, right? Because people are like, I could go to a BarCraft, or I could just watch a stream here on my phone.
Beyond going to a BarCraft, there's, hey, I could start a BarCraft.
That's the next level.
There used to be some, guidelines that Blizzard and other community things would suggest. Blizzard had a page where I think you could register them, and even, I think they'd choose like, I don't know, 5, 10, 20, I don't know how many that they'd give a BarCraft stim pack or boost to, and they'd give, just send some stuff from their gear store or their swag. And it once again kind of a legitimacy to it. You had the people who developed the game, kind of giving some tokens of appreciation to the people who are doing these.
I remember there used to be like a page on on Team Liquid, and I think on StarCraft, where you could it listed all the BarCrafts by, you could just put in the different regions and you could go to find where your region was holding a BarCraft.
Yes. Yeah, actually, there's a guy. I wish if I would have had more time, I would have kind of introed you to. Actually, you know him, Lauren Halpert. You know Lauren.
BarCrafts United.
BarCrafts United. Yeah, he's worked on BarCraft since the very beginning. We used to have a Skype group. We used to have all these things, dude. And
Lauren is a
the
Canadian.
whole world. Yeah, the whole world. We would all be like, we had guys in Australia and in India and in Europe and in Canada, all over the United States, and we'd all join this Skype group, and we'd all like hype each other's stuff and like give each other tips. And we definitely didn't do Reddit upvote circles at all.
I should have. Lauren would have been. I totally forgot about Lauren. Lauren would have been also an awesome person to have on this episode. You're right. He is an old school BarCraft like junkie. Like he used to actually. In Canada, he used to go around to not just BarCrafts, but like the pub stomps and other games as well. And he used to hook up people with swag, and he used to like get like little promo codes and stuff, and he used to give all the BarCrafts and stuff little things. I totally forgot about Lauren. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Shit. Okay,
Sorry,
well.
Lauren.
Sorry, Lauren. If you ever catch wind of this episode, I want you to know I didn't think of you until now, but I'm thinking of you now.
Better late than never.
That kid's like a silent genius, man. The stuff that he comes up with is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
He completely revitalized Valve's Pub Stomp, right, which is their Dota version of the BarCraft. He completely like made he streamlined it and revitalized it and made it a thing. Like, and he still managed it. It's amazing.
Yes, I remember that. I remember he used to talk about. He used to pop into my BarCrafts, and he would pop in and talk about what he was working on. But I didn't think very much of it until now. I don't know why it's all coming back to me now.
I have to say, I mean, we're talking about that too. Valve has been very involved and interested in his stuff, and they've given him support, financial support, but also just you know, what do you call social support or hype support and. Sorry, alarm on my phone there. Advertising support, right? Just to legitimize him. And the same way, I wish Blizzard still did that. I wish Blizzard still provided that vocal support, you know, background, logistical support to make these things happen, and give them more hype and interest from the community.
Do you think they don't just simply because it doesn't really make them any more money in their eyes, or why have they kind of gone silent in this regard?
I'm not sure. I don't know, and I know a lot of
maybe it's popularity. Maybe it's popularity.
Partially.
Probably like an ROI kind of thing, right? Like how much are we actually giving and how much are we actually getting? Are we just like, you know, are these people going to be super fans anyways for the rest of their lives, and we really don't need to give them anything to retain them? And that sounds stupid. It sounds like, you know, disloyal, but you know, they're a business and it is what it is. They want to get new people. They want to keep people who might go to other games. So, you know, those are the two things. Is BarCraft really going to do that? Back in the day, absolutely. It was getting lots of new people. It was retaining new people, or retaining people who were already interested. But when they started losing a lot of viewership to League of Legends, to Dota, to whatever else was out there, right?
PUBG now.
Yeah, the viewership or the ROI maybe wasn't there. But that said, I have to give Blizzard super credit that, like I said at the beginning, they love their game and they love people who love their game. So if you were to go out and if anybody listening would want to create a BarCraft, and you know, let's say you can get 10, 15, 20 people, even just like, let's just say 20 people, write Blizzard an email or try and get in touch with them somehow, and they'll probably send you something. They'll probably there's like digital stuff now, right? Like all the digital skins and packs and all that stuff that you can get. That's easy for them, right? That costs them nothing to give you. So I'm sure Blizzard, they love their community. They want to support their community. They'll probably give you something.
Yeah, I was digital stuff.
I was gonna say Hypertitle. I also want to hear from you. Sorry.
If I could, I got to bounce out for like 10, 15 and I'll be back. Is that cool?
Yeah, I could just leave your camera on so it doesn't mess up the camera, and just mute it, and that way, because if you close your camera, it like messes up all the camera places for everybody else. Is that something you can do?
I did that earlier. That's when we learned.
No problem. I'll be right back.
Hyperturtle, we're looking at you now.
And only me. So what I'm thinking is I've seen Blizzard do some similar stuff in the last year or two. You know, StarCraft Remastered, they had like release day parties where they were, you know, offering to choose random parties to send pizzas to. But what's really sparked my imagination a bit is what they've been doing with, let's say, Hearthstone, where they're doing these fireside gatherings, and they have like exclusive limited time stuff where, you know, if you attend one of these and it gets properly, you know, it reaches the criteria, which is a bit more complicated than it looked at first, but it's like, yeah, you get together with a bunch of people at this event, you get this special card back. And we've been seeing these Twitch drops where they've been, you know, creating these aesthetics specifically for, you know, you watch qualifying channels for long enough, you know, you might qualify for this. And BlizzCon, the global finals, there's even these banners that are only going to be available and only in a limited quantity through there. I could picture that being a very easy thing they could do for BarCrafts, you know, instead of fireside gatherings, just, you know, if you meet these qualifiers, let us know, and you can register everyone who appears at your BarCraft, and let's say we'll pick 150 people total, and they get this exclusive banner or this portrait of a Marine getting drunk.
Well, and
And
yeah, like Zerg Troll saying in the chat, I didn't realize they used to give you a special hero for attending a fireside gathering. That's pretty cool. I would love
it
something
was
like that.
there, and people were like, what, I can't find one of these, and that's the only way I can get. And some people, there were a lot of people, and I think there was some good criticism about, like, you had to have like 2 in a row in order for it to qualify and for everyone to count. So I mean, there's growing pains of that kind of thing, but I would love to see that spread to their other games. And you see them doing these Twitch drops, you see them experimenting with other social incentives, rewards, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, yeah, StarCraft's made a big return to form, and people are hyped. People are really excited about these the whole foreign dream concept. The foreign hope isn't just something people throw out there each time. We got Neeb, we got Cyril, we got Scarlet, and it's not that they might win; they have won on
It's true.
tournaments, and people are curious where this is going. And
I really like I wanted to interject for a second. I really like that idea of an exclusive BarCraft only thing, like the fireside gathering kind of idea. I think really, and we haven't touched on this subject yet, and we'll probably come back to what could BarCrafts do for rejuvenation, and having that like exclusive BarCraft only item really would drive people. That's actually amazing. I don't know why that's not done. It's like just thinking about it now. Like if you have right now, they have the Twitch drops, right, where you get a Twitch only like key for watching streams. They could totally do something like that for BarCrafts. That'd be really cool. Like I don't know how it would scale in terms of like how many keys they can give out to how many people, but still think it would be a
I think the more people who talk about StarCraft in any form, it's good for them. Even if it's free to play stuff, when people log on to that BattleNet launcher, it throws the other Blizzard game titles in their faces and lets them know who on their friends list is playing this game. And I like that kind of setup. I appreciate it in the way any game promotes any other game that's under the Blizzard banner.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Huh.
It's hard. I think, we kind of talked about it. Just the biggest hurdle as why Blizzard's in it is just that return on investment, though. It's like, what are they getting for giving all these free things away? Yeah, they get a little more publicity, but they could argue we already have that,
I think they'll get more if there's more BarCraft. So it's not really up to Blizzard to start this rolling. It's up to enough of these events to be there and to maybe show off. If you're holding a BarCraft, take a big group photo, put it on Twitter, #StarCraft.
Make BarCraft cool again. Let's do it.
Yeah, why not?
And ultimately, you're right. It boils down to it's us. It's we, the passionate fans, the ones who want these things to happen, are the ones who need to make them happen. Blizzard can be a good support, but it does not fall on them. They've got their own.
It's just like organizing a BarCraft. You're not going to organize a BarCraft if you don't think anyone's going to show up. You're not going to make any exclusive goodies for BarCrafts if you don't think there's going to be many BarCrafts this year.
Yeah, I think the infrastructure though is a great way to help rejuvenate. Because like right now the state of BarCrafts are kind of like on life support. I'll be honest, like when I was searching for people to have on this guest, like in North America, like you are pretty much like the last one.
And look at me now. I am a community figure. I'm being interviewed on a podcast, and what am I, in gold?
Well, it's just
hey, I've been casting StarCraft and playing for 20 years. I get to platinum on ladder, so I don't think that has too much value.
I'm just saying that there isn't that many people in North America specifically. Like there really are not that many people organizing BarCrafts right now. Like we're running into WCS right now, finals, and there are like legit maybe 3 in North America going on. like 3 BarCrafts. The one I'm organizing, the one you're organizing, and maybe one other somewhere else.
I guess I need to start the Denver BarCraft is what this sounds like. It's
That's it.
It's
That's
hard,
it,
and I would love to. The passion for me is absolutely there, but it's a matter of finding the time, finding the resources. I couldn't go out and buy a hotspot, on the drop of a dime. But it's hard to get these things up and running. I think, especially again, I hate to go back to the money aspect of it, but what's the return if I were to go host this BarCraft, other than getting some people to come hang out with me? What am I really getting out of it?
Well, you actually end up building a lot of friendships. That's not obviously like you can't eat friendships, obviously, but
Well,
like,
there's also, I don't know how many friendships. I can only become friends with as many
Yeah,
people
how many
as
do I need,
arrive
though?
here. But I'm honestly, in these little BarCrafts I've been doing, I have made a couple friends who I've been playing with. Some of them just online. One of them I actually hang out with now and then. And so I've gotten the return, but I've had to kind of lower how much I invest, both time and money, and that's the reasonable part of it, the rationale.
So that's like the hard part, right? Because, and you bring up a really good point, Andy, because that's a real practical question when you're like, okay, I'm going to invest. Because sometimes there's money. Like sometimes you can get away with getting these done for free, like if you know somebody.
Little bits of money. It's like that's fine.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to put some money in it. Like there's
What
gonna be
if you have
some
to rent the
investment.
venue? What if you have to pay the rest of the money that the tab didn't get to? What if you have to?
Which is like the likeliest thing. That's always the biggest kick in the teeth too. Is like when you put a lot of effort in, and then someone's like, "All right, well, all that work, now you pay me."
You pay me, yeah. But I brought you business. Is that not enough?
And you're like, "Well, not enough business. You pay me now." And you're like, "Ugh."
Well, and this is all actually kind of got me thinking. So I actually work in the beverage industry. I work for a beverage distributor, and I think it would be
recreational beverage.
Alcohol
Okay,
sales, that kind of thing. Yeah, and I think it would be an interesting way to promote, and it is talk to the alcohol distributors, maybe. I haven't thought much more into it than that, but they do Bacardi or Jack Daniel, whatever. They'll do promotional events for their new product, Fireball. They get a new sound. They'll have girls at the bar handing out free shots, stuff like that. Why couldn't you tie that into a StarCraft something? Give away some StarCraft swag. Have the StarCraft up on the screen. Promote through that.
Blizzard has like
the way the public sees it, because we still are kind of fighting that whole thing about video games being a kid's thing, and it's like, are you're trying to get them hooked early?
Yeah,
I think that's why there's been so many more cross promotions from energy drinks.
You have to remember though, as well, is that sometimes Blizzard and some games have like it prohibited that you associate their game with alcohol and like pornography.
But it's a BarCraft.
It's also trickier
There's
after
gonna
you
be
spend
alcohol.
like the entire first chapter watching James Rayner, basically, drink himself half into oblivion.
You're right. But
it's cleaning up after you a lot lately.
It's one of those things where getting alcohol, and you know what, maybe we're in a different era now, so people are a little bit more lax with that kind of stuff. So I don't think it would be too out of the question to get it, but it's a matter of
who do you talk to, who how can they, first thing they're gonna ask you too is how am I gonna make money, how much am I gonna make by,
well, I guess even a sponsors sometimes like catch-22 because they look for numbers, right? They're like, how many people do you have coming to these things already, right? And if you're like, well, I don't have that many people, they're like, well, what do I need you for? I can tweet on my 1.2 million account and I'll bring at least more people than you have, and it'll cost me nothing. Right. Obviously that your biggest benefit is that you know how to put on a BarCraft and they don't, but realistically, logistics of a BarCraft isn't like putting on a full-on tournament.
Yeah. Well, actually, Zergtroll kind of has a good question, kind of related to that. Just saying, BarCrafts are viewing parties. What if there's BlizzCon event going on in the same city? Are you going to have a BarCraft there, or is everybody going to be at BlizzCon? Does that affect the viewership numbers at all? I don't know.
Like
if
the actual physical location.
Yeah, just the physical location of it. Because he's saying on the West Coast, it's already taken place there. So why wouldn't you just go to that instead of a little bar? or something.
Well,
I think that's how I was asking. Let me know if I-
BlizzCon tickets are just as hard to get if you're in California as if you're in any other state or any other country.
That's right.
So, but you know,
true.
I
a
think,
cheaper
you
option
know,
to go to the bar.
yep, I think around there, you know, there is a bit more local hype, and you know, there probably is a little bit easier to get more people because they've been hearing mention of this event, just like it's easier. I'm in here in Minneapolis. We had the Super Bowl earlier this year, and you know, what were all the bars around that stadium doing? They were having Super Bowl parties.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
You're
so
right,
true.
yeah,
That's so
So
true.
if anything, it would help the scene because hey, this is going on here. Look at all these people hyped about it. Oh, well, we're cheap. Let's go to the bar and drink and watch it.
The way I've seen things promoted from
That's how I-
Blizzard, and they, you know, like they had a sort of BlizzCon viewing party thing of recipes and trivia games and things you could print out,
Mhm.
but it was, you know, it was all of BlizzCon. So, you know,
Yeah, you do miss out on that aspect of being there, experiencing it firsthand a little.
yeah, but also, you know, I think they've been encouraging a lot of BlizzCon viewing parties, especially, you know, do you have a virtual ticket? Would you like to invite a bunch of people over? We're doing a bit of that at ours. We're going to watch the Pylon show, and we're going to watch the StarCraft What's Next as, you know, kind of our pre-show, and then watch the semifinals and finals. But you know, it gets kind of tricky if you keep jumping around between different games because yeah, some people are going to like this one, some people are going to like this one. Some people are just going to want to watch Carbot do his little drawing demonstration. It helps to have like a solid line, you know, a solid theme about what you'll be following. Otherwise, you can't please everyone.
No,
You gotta-
like I would never recommend someone have a BarCraft where it has all the different games on BlizzCon. Like you're gonna get that's just asking for trouble.
much.
I think
That's like putting on your own mini BlizzCon almost. It's just
yeah, it is. That's
not
practically it.
Well,
That's
you
I
just
think
gave me
that's
a great idea.
oh no, don't do it. Don't do it.
oh, mini BlizzCon.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be an exhausting thing.
And I wish I could go to BlizzCon this way. It looks so cool. I'm jealous. Jealousy.
It's cons can be exhausting. I find like I've done I've done a couple of circuit of conventions and they're fun, but I find them super like they're sensory overload in some regards. Like
well, you have to be engaged the whole time, you know, making sure things are working and everyone's having a good time. And
not a lot of elbow room.
I'm talking about like even just tending as a convention goer. Like they're
okay.
Yeah, they're exhausting. Like because there's just so many things to do, and you're walking around, and you're. But yeah, let's for in terms of BarCrafts, how do you think free to play has impacted BarCrafts?
You know, free to play came at a neat time because just as it got a lot of people hearing about StarCraft again. That was one of the big things. And you know, like poetry, not that many months after was when they had that whole Olympic thing. And you know, Intel did a great job, you know, promoting, hey, you know, we've got an esport that we're going to play before the Olympics, and you know, it's going to be StarCraft. And I don't think he could have. I don't think anyone could have made as big of an impact winning as Scarlet. You know, number one, I mean, she definitely stood out from the rest of the crowd. But number two, you had all these people who had gotten fed up during the late Heart of the Swarm days, who were like, "Wait, Scarlet's in the finals? I remember her."
Yeah.
And between the two of those, I've really seen, you know, at the very least, a lot more activity on the BarCraft Facebook page that we run. A lot more engagement. There's fresher things to get excited about, and there's been people who have given it a shot again, given it a peek, and things are different, but it's pretty easy to catch up.
Well, I think having people like like you just said, Scarlet winning or Neeb winning, it does help. You know, as an American, it's like, oh, hey, cool. You know, it's a non-Korean just won. He's American. That's sweet. You know,
I want to say that Scarlet is Canadian, by the way. Just want to point it out. I just want
North American.
Neeb was awesome, especially because it had been so long. So that did buzz, but you know, he wasn't someone who the people who fell out on StarCraft remembered.
Yeah,
and I think someone making a huge comeback like that right after the free-to-play announcements, right after there was already some attention there, that was, it was kind of a bridge. It's like, you left off when Scarlet was at her peak before she kind of, started to disappear for a while. You pick up again when she gets her big win right next to the Olympics.
Yeah,
And that, you see that with TV shows, comic books, other stuff. Some people end up finally giving it another peak when their favorite character returns. And
yeah,
I credit that a lot. And right after that, she was in the GSL quarterfinals, so it was like the interest continued. So we actually had a pretty good turnout for that quarterfinal match between her and Sue, even though it was pre-recorded. Even though we couldn't have it, well, it was actually live.
So like doing like the non-live stuff has actually you've seen some people who've gone in and watched the non-live stuff because of the time zone and stuff like that.
As long as you beat them to it. You're like, I want you to wait 2 days. They're like, what? I'm going to look on Twitter and someone's going to spoil it for me. I can't do that.
Yeah, we did that something here in Toronto where we ended up, because the GSL Super Tournament, we're like, no one wants to wake up for 6, so we're gonna do the VODs, and people just avoided spoilers, and it worked.
That's what I've noticed. The StarCraft community in general is very good about not spoiling games and stuff.
Well,
there's always that one or two versions.
There's tools in place now to like make sure those spoil, like you can watch VODs spoiler free on SE2 links, and there's a couple of tools out there.
And I think StarCraft fans have also gotten a lot better at pouncing on people who do post spoilers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, nothing's worse than a spoiler. Yeah, especially in StarCraft, it just ruins. You're like, oh well, now I know who's gonna win. You could still watch the game and enjoy it. But
you're a Zerg player. I'm a Protoss player, but we both hate being spoiled.
Wow, did we just find common ground as a Zerg? What?
It can be done.
Is that possible?
Okay, so we're getting close to the end of the episode, but there are still a couple of questions outstanding, and I'll make sure that we get, and Cable's back. So
welcome back.
So I'm gonna throw out this big question here, and I'm gonna put it up first since you've returned. What do people generally assume about BarCrafts, whether that's organizing or attending one, that they get wrong? Like people, like by people mean either outsiders or even the people in the community.
I think the easiest thing, and this is not just outsiders, but people who just didn't think about it ahead of time. Oh, we're only going to catch the semifinals and finals. They're on different days. It's I think people sometimes forget that it's pretty tricky to line up multiple BarCrafts in a row. So that's the first thing that comes to mind for me.
Cable, what about yourself?
What did people assume that they got wrong?
Well, I think you said one earlier. It was the ones who were assuming it was with the TV issue, how that was screwed up. They just assumed that you're, Blizzard essentially, and have all this perfect equipment and everything's just going to be. It's like, we're human.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. That we're just community members like you. Some people were like, so how much money are you making off of this?
Yeah, things like that.
How much money am I spending on this? You mean I pretty well often lost money on every event. So all that equipment that's up at the front, I bought that on my own just to make sure you guys have a good time. That's probably the biggest one.
Is like people assuming about money? They're assuming that like you're making bank.
Oh man, you must be making so much money off of this. I'm like, yeah, right.
I think people even assuming that I know what I'm doing. I've done some of these before, and I've got a long history of helping organize like video game themed meetups. But yeah, just because I'm the guy who created and promoted the event doesn't mean that I know what I'm doing, that I'm any good at StarCraft.
You're just there to watch the games, right?
Watch them and talk my head off,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on the same ground as they are. I just beat them to the punch as far as setting up the event.
I forgot to ask a question earlier. Can I go backwards in time just real quick? Alessander actually proposed it. It was kind of when we were talking about, what problems have you encountered, that kind of thing. Have you ever had to separate people based on their, Zerg's over in this corner, Protoss stay over here, nobody, no fighting while we're here. I'm assuming not. I thought it was
No, it was one of those kinds of things. You set the ground rules ahead of time. It's like, okay, no arguing politics, no arguing religions. For God's sake, no arguing
balance
balance.
whining.
And everyone would chuckle and then kind of uneasily look at each other for a moment, and then we'd move on.
We did have some pretty big balance wines. I didn't give that disclaimer at the beginning. Maybe I should have, but yeah, I remember I would always try to walk around to the different tables just to engage with them personally because there's so many tables there. But and I would sit down and talk to them, and man, I would stumble into some really, really major balance wines a couple of times. And I mean, my first question was always like, okay, what race do you play? And then what league are you in? And how long have you been playing StarCraft? And then, based on that, the ones you have to shut up and listen are the guys who are the GMs who are sitting there complaining. You're like, oh, okay, maybe you kind of know what you're talking about. There's some Blizzard guys over there. Maybe you should go talk to them. But, when you got bronze whining going on, it's like, okay, I hope you learn how to play better.
Well, and I think it's funny how people take this balance wine and put it on the other player. Like, oh, you play Protoss, this is your fault.
Yeah.
It's all no, it's the game. We're using the exact same tools everybody else has.
Marine's good unit, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the nice things if we do get, anytime we have gotten any land gaming in, people are, there's a lot less BM if you're within punching distance.
Yes. So true, dude.
So true.
Although a couple punches have been thrown at real tournaments.
Really?
Yeah, well, thankfully none of mine were very real, so.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a long time, but usually they get kicked out of the tournament if they punch or hit anybody.
I would hope so, yeah. Unacceptable for that kind of. This
Absolutely.
is a game of mind and spirit, not of fist fighting.
I have to say though, I mean, I like people who are energetic and who are into it, right? Like getting BM'd online is frustrating, especially when you're losing. It feels like crap. And guys who are just like jerks, that sucks. But I feel like in person, there'd be some guys like when we would have our tournaments who, when they'd win, they'd slam their headsets down and just like that, just full blast. And the guy would be on like the other side of the, the thing, or be sitting like a couple computers over from him. And he just kind of like, but I like that, man. Like, and even there'd be like mid-match like banter, and I guess if you're in Korea, this is like completely illegal.
Yeah, they'll disqualify you if you chat in game.
But in person, right? They'd play a game, and then somebody would just kind of like slam it in their face, like, "How you like that, baby?" And I think it's kind of. But if you're like a fighting game champ, a fighting game community follower, like if you've ever gone to any FGC events or
all the time,
dude, it's like I love it. I think that's part of what gives it the flavor. And so I like that part when guys would do it, but apparently other people don't so much. So
well, it makes me think of MC used to, whenever he'd just be like, yeah, I'm the greatest on stage. I loved that. Yeah, it was just so
celebrations,
cool.
Right? They would say
you just won. You can get a little cocky for a minute. That's okay.
My favorite is always going to be QXC doing the Kamehameha wave. Love it. Have you guys seen that GIF?
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Okay.
Someone's gonna have to link that to me. I love.
I'll find it. QXC's Kamehameha wave when he beat in Team League in Korea.
I miss Naniwa Hyper Turtle. I enjoyed watching him play. His BM even was okay, and I'm usually not a fan of BM, but he was just kind of like, I don't care, BM.
I love BM.
Like not to be a dick, but just like, why are you? Don't bother me with this. Like, leave me alone. Kind of BM.
Sometimes it's just nice to connect to a player emotionally, whether it's them, quitting without a GG and then just kind of walking away, or whether it's them, putting their head down, or whether it's them absolutely leaping up when it suddenly dawns on them they just won. And you live for those moments. We're living through them a bit. Because I think there's going to be a limited audience if any matches I win. My wife is going to tell me good job, and then she's going to go back to her reading.
I just want to point out, you posted this Kamehameha Wave GIF, and this is like the best thing I've ever seen. I don't know how I've ever missed this. I don't know where has this been all my life.
I haven't seen QXC in a while. Is he still active in the tournament scene, or?
No,
I think he's making a game right now, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly, or a board
game,
game.
I believe,
Oh,
right?
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
board
Yeah, I
game.
always enjoyed watching him play. He was always a good player.
Yeah. All right, so just a few last questions, ladies and gents. I'm going to ask one more, and then Andy here will end us off. But if you were to go back, this is going to be a two-parter, or one or two punch question, but
1.5.
yeah, 1 point. So for Hyper Turtle, if you were to go back to 2017, that's when you took over, and you were to walk into your 2017 self, so not very, what would you give that person as advice going to do BarCrafts? What would you advise them to do?
I'd say hit the ground running. I'd say basically, even though things were kind of quiet, I had that Facebook page and stuff, to just, even if I wasn't seeing a lot of excitement, to show my excitement, to just immediately start, posting some of my favorite fan stuff, sharing some of the excitement I had for some of the upcoming matches. And I guess putting myself out there, showing that I was hyped, and letting anyone else who was hyped join in. And then handing the group over to them.
All right. What about yourself, Cable? What would you go back to 2011? Sorry, I was like, whoop. Go back to 2011. What would you give your advice? What advice would you give that version of yourself from today?
Go harder. I know that we had big events and stuff, but I think I always wanted to leverage it more and to push it harder and to do more tournaments, to do bigger things. And I could have, if I would have dedicated the time to it, if I would have not worried about what other people said or what other people thought, or, people who were being, I don't know, even online people or people I knew in person, find a good partner. I think, Hyper Turtle said hand it to other people, but realistically, you got to have somebody to help you out with. And I did have a good partner at the very beginning. I had a couple guys, and they each kind of fell out of the scene, and I tried to find new partners. And I've got a couple people who help here or there, but it's hard to find other people who are as interested in this thing as you, and are willing to give their time to it. I mean, you guys know, right? Like, yeah, usually for free. And the best thing I can give to you is you get to pick one piece of swag that we have. You just pick it, for yourself before the whole event starts. Like, okay, that's all I give to you, but you guys know, like finding people, you have to find people across the country, like, so, or across country, right? You're in Canada. So it's not easy, but I think if I would tell myself, like, one or two things would be: one, go harder, and two, try and find more partners to work with.
All right. Wow. I love it. Both of those. Amazing advice. Wow. Andy, you take us out.
Is that it? We're done talking BarCraft already?
You got the last question. You got the last question.
Oh, you're giving me a question. Oh, I was like, we're done? No. You guys have answered the question so well. You've really, really delved into this topic just very wonderfully. Really given me a lot of insight, things that I've never really thought about. Because again, I've been wanting to do a BarCraft for so long now, since pretty much 2010, 2011. I've been really wanting to have that be a reality where I'm at. I don't think I have any more questions. I'm trying to think of one here on the spot, but you guys just answered them all. You were answering questions before I could even ask them.
What about our last question on our list?
Oh, we do. Oh, I thought I'm totally missed that. I got one more. I do have one more for you. If you guys had a magical wand that you could fix and make any tool appear to help you make BarCraft successful, with the exception of money, because obviously money would help, what would it be?
My own downstairs bar area. Nice, one of those nice little basement pubs that people had, where it had the actual sort of counter with the refrigerator behind it. Just eliminating the space thing. Being having my own space to give.
So your own bar, essentially.
Yeah, I think,
Good way to do it.
and I've already got the craft. I just need the bar.
What about in terms
Halfway
of
there.
tools? Is there anything that like would help making a BarCraft, digital or otherwise, kind of make it easier?
Well, I mean, party favors are nice. I'd like to have a little bit more freedom to decorate on my own because I've got some cool posters and stuff. Tool. Tool is honestly not that less broad of a term. But
I'd say a location would qualify as a tool because it is
or even the means to just turn just be able to set up a bar area in some of the free non-business places we have around,
like a pop-up bar,
There you go.
pop-up StarCraft bar.
Oh,
yeah, basically, kind of like with Tychus Findlay when you select him as co-op, where it just kind of flies Joey Ray's bar and just plops it down from the sky.
That's kind of cool. What about
you, Cable?
Yeah.
Tool that I would you want to make BarCrafts go better, or just to run it.
I would say maybe like a second or a production assistant, somebody to basically do all the. You think of the ideas and you tell them to do it. Would that qualify? A robot
Yeah,
to
that'd
do
be a tool.
that could be a tool.
That dude's such a tool.
It's a tool.
No, to be fair, like I think the best thing that could ever happen for BarCrafts as a whole, viewing parties as a whole, is developer official support and integration. If and it's hard. I know why it's hard. There's legalities and there's money and there's man hours and there's all this stuff.
And alcohol.
and alcohol, yes. That's always a logistical thing. But if Blizzard could create their own BarCraft series and they could have someone who just spent a few hours a week, let's just say 5 hours a week, one a day, managing the BarCraft scene, helping local people, directly integrating with local people to get their BarCrafts going, to support them, to give them pep talks if they need it, to help them with, here's what kind of equipment you need. Do you have technical difficulties? Are you having trouble finding people? Here's some tips. Like some official support capacity to BarCraft that's standardized. Not like some just random guy coming up and saying, "Hey, I want to run BarCraft. Could you help me out?" Yeah, sure. Let me help you out. Let me, let's chat for an hour or something. But like some official, BarCraft person or I don't know.
Kind of like the TESPA, but for BarCraft.
I see what you're saying.
It's
I've
if
actually
Tesla
got to
would
go.
have actually done what they said they were going to do in the very beginning, then yeah, we would have that.
Absolutely. Oh, did you say you have to go, Hyper Turtle?
Yeah, sounds like my daughter's woken up.
Oh,
No worries.
okay. I know those
Well,
days.
before you go off, why don't you just tell people where they can find your BarCraft and just find your information? Like, where can they find more about yourself?
Best place would just be to go to Facebook and do a search for MN BarCraft. And, we've got the page set up there.
All right, perfect.
And if you're in Minnesota, go to a BarCraft with this guy.
Absolutely.
Do it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me. I feel very
problem.
special.
Thanks very much, Hyper Turtle. All right, well, that's a good signal for us to close wrap up. Hopefully, Tara can fix our screens. I know they're going to definitely break after that one. This is a good opportunity. Cable, where can people find you and your things?
So I just want to finish out what I was saying.
Oh, yes, you're right.
I don't hate Tesla. I wanted to make sure that they would come. If the show ended right now, they'd be like, that freaking Cable. But
we'd have to do a disclaimer. Our views do not necessarily align with those of our guests.
Yes, no. Rosens, you did a good job with Tesla. Well done. It's very focused on the college scene. I do legitimately wish that Tesla would have been able to focus more on general community as opposed to just college. But that's what they went with, and that was successful. And
was Tesla originally supposed to be doing? Like, I missed that. Like, was that something? Was their original mandate to do?
Yeah,
community?
Yeah, they were going to do more general community stuff. And I don't know, maybe that was a perception by everybody outside of the Tesla organization that didn't fulfill. But whatever they did their college thing and they're doing great now. So you know, and the Rosens are incredibly successful within Blizzard beyond just Tespa. So good on them. They were successful, but there were if you could take the Tespa concept and branch it into more general community, that would, I think, work really well for StarCraft community. I think it would work. I worry,
awesome.
and I'll say this openly, and if Blizzard people are listening or whatever, I worry that with Morheim out of Blizzard now, that StarCraft is going to take a back seat. Because Morheim, as far as I understand, StarCraft was his favorite game. And he loved, and maybe he never would say that, right? Like, I don't know. And I'm making stuff up.
I think he has said it, though. I think he has said it.
Has he said it?
It's like parents aren't supposed to say what their favorite child is,
Exactly.
but they do. I mean, they still technically have their favorites. Same thing.
I don't purport to know him. I've talked to him at a few BarCrafts, and he's a chill guy. But I know this, that like they would have internal BarCraft or internal Blizzard tournaments, and he would play in them, and he would play anonymously, so that he would have a name that no one could identify, and he would play in like from his home or in an office, and nobody knew it was him. And he just loved StarCraft. When I couldn't do a BarCraft in the middle of the night because the bars wouldn't do it for me anymore, he put on a BarCraft at his home, like at his personal home, and invited community members like to his home.
That's awesome.
He freaking loves StarCraft, and he would do anything to keep it running. And I really hope that now that he's left, that doesn't signal any kind of decline in excitement for StarCraft. Yeah, Overwatch is the money bringer. Yeah, World of Warcraft's a money bringer. StarCraft is not bringing so much money, right?
StarCraft
but Mike Morheim didn't
more
care,
passion than all of those combined.
And Morheim didn't care about, necessarily. He's always been about quality, right? Like, yeah, money's important. We're a public company, especially now. We got to make money. We got to make profit. But like, he just wanted to make a good product, and he wanted people to enjoy the product that he made. So I really hope the StarCraft community stays strong. I hope that Blizzard Esports continues to do that. I know that the people in Blizzard Esports are passionate about StarCraft because the leaders of it started at the bottom in StarCraft. So, that's their first love. And I doubt that's going to go away, but I just hope that corporatization doesn't start to take over. And
you got me scared now, Cable. You're
keep it on the front burner.
You're scaring me. You're scaring me.
I'm too much of a Wall Street conspiracy theorist, so you can couple that with my StarCraft and BarCraft experience, and I'm scared, bro.
No, I think that's where a lot of it does kind of fall onto us as the fans to keep that passion alive, to keep telling our friends, trying to get our friends into it. And I think that's the hard part too, is just getting people into it. It's a hard game to learn. It's it's hard to pick up, especially if you didn't grow up with it. Like I've been playing since I was 10 years old. So yeah. But ultimately it's us that is going to save it if it does, take that route where it does get put on the back burner. We're the ones who are going to have to make sure it stays active. And
how do you think the Smash Melee community stayed together? How do you think the Brood War community stayed together, right? Brood War wasn't really officially supported by Blizzard competitively for a very long time. And then they realized like, oh crap, let's get in on this so we can make
this money, this free money is running away.
And that's what it does all boil down to in the end is the money in a lot of regards, which, it's sad, but
from the company.
Like you said, business.
But agreed on the community. If we really want to, we could, like, let's say Blizzard just stops supporting StarCraft, like, okay, we'll still run the servers, but we're not going to do anything. We're not giving money to WCS. We're not giving money to anything. Then I think the community will still stay alive. I think
honestly, I feel like that would help the small community almost, right? More people would have to go watch my Platinum Diamond tournament every week, or something, because you can't watch WCS anymore.
Well, there would be a vacuum, right? And I think people would fill it in that regard.
No, we can get into like economics theory of esports and stuff, but I have to admit that I believe that their constant integration or constant influx of money into the scene over the past 7 years has resulted in people like Neeb and Cyril and Scarlet doing as well as they do, because there's a big thing. Again, you want to go follow Slasher and talk about, Overwatch League teams and nationalities and region locks and all that stuff. But like Korea for a long time has had an infrastructure, and they've had an infrastructure that supports these people monetarily and socially, right? To the two most important things to keeping people consistent, monetary and social. And they had that. It was just embedded in their community. And we didn't have that. That's why NA sucks is a joke, right? Because, you know, you could try your best and you would never be as good as a Korean because you didn't have the resources. That's not true anymore. Now you can try your best and you have the resources socially, monetarily. You've got teams to support you. You've got coaches. You got, you know, athletic psychologists. Like they have these resources at their disposal now. And so now they're rising to the top, just like we always said they would. And if Blizzard were to take that away, I think it would be very difficult. It'd be very difficult on the pros right now. And I do think some of them would just fully retire and quit the game, if not quit esports in general. And that would be sad to see. But anyway, we've very much digressed from BarCraft.
Yes, yes, no worries. But this actually gives an idea for a future episode of a show. But I'll table that, put a pin in that one, and we'll wrap up this one so that we don't keep you Cable all night, because if we get into theory crafting and we get into like,
I know, right? Sorry about that.
StarCraft all night.
we'll be here all night, because like people like I weep for you guys who are listening to the VOD or listening to the podcast element of this, and you're just like, man, this is gonna go on to like 2-something hours. Drekken, you promised us. And I was like, don't worry, guys. I promise to keep the time down so you're not trapped in the VOD.
That's why State of the Games used to go like 4 hours.
Right. I try my best to try to keep it to a manageable amount for someone to get in as many.
Easy to digest.
Yeah. Like if you're right now trapped in your car listening to this during that rush hour commute, don't worry, I'm here with you, but not for much longer. All right, Cable, why don't you give us a wrap up of where people can find you and your latest activities?
You can follow us on Twitter, SoCal Esports, Facebook.com/SoCal Esports. If you want to follow me personally, I'm at Cable SCES, Cable SoCal Esports abbreviation. And if you're in the SoCal area and you like StarCraft or you like esports in general, you want to do events, you want to do cool stuff, hit me up and I can try and help you get things started. Even if I can't help be there, I can help you figure out how to make it happen. Or I can get you in touch with people locally who will be able to work with you.
I want you to guys know, and if you're hearing that, like that is the best possible thing someone can give you. Like they say, if you need something, just hit me up and I'll point you in the right direction. That is like gold right there. That's like true gold. Because a lot of times you're like, where do I start? And someone's like, I'll point you in the right direction. All right, there you go.
And I just want to say thank you for doing the podcast on BarCrafts. I think it's a really cool thing you're doing. And thank you for inviting me.
Hey, it's reinvigorated my passion for BarCraft. I want to get one in Denver started now. After this.
There was a solid Denver BarCraft for a little while, wasn't there?
I was talking about that earlier. I feel like I saw some stuff about it, but it just didn't last long enough. So I was just never able to, because that was when I was still in school and I was working like 60-hour weeks with school and work and all that. And I just wasn't able to, but as far as I know, it's died off. I'll do a little research and see if anything is still kind of going around here in Denver.
And that's the thing with BarCrafts too, is like we talked earlier in the discussion. I'll be careful not to resurrect old threads in terms of discussion because it'll turn into tangents. But the idea of that, what do I get out of this, right? That sometimes comes to a head at some point where you're like, well, I've been doing this for so long and I'm actually losing a lot of money, so maybe I'm gonna stop doing it, right? And that's
it becomes it can become tiring too. So if you're not getting that reward that you're looking for, that stimuli, like, oh, this was, I did a great job. If you're not getting that feeling, then it's harder.
Yeah, like just people shit on you, right? Hashtag. Well, I've always said you can't eat passion. Just like people can die from exposure, you can totally die from passion. Too much passion. That's how BarCrafts die out. So first of all, I want to say thank you very much. Keep that passion. Hashtag passion. Thanks so much, Cable, for coming on our show and being our guest. You know what, guys? Before we wrap up, I almost forgot to do the reveal of the StarCraft challenge.
Would have had some very upset people.
Yeah. But we'll do that right at the end of the show. That way it makes sense for the VOD, or if you listen to this eventually on a podcast, you're not like, why is there just music playing? We'll do that right. We'll do it just at the end of the show, just before the show ends. We'll do the reveal of it just before we head out. So last but not least, Andy, why don't you tell the people where they can find you in your world?
Yes. You can find me every Tuesday on Proxy Tempest. I do a Diamond and Under tournament. We give away coaching prizes, fun stuff like that. We also do tournaments throughout the week for all ranks throughout StarCraft. So definitely come check that out. It's at Proxy Tempest. I don't know if we use our Twitter too often, but give it a Google. You can find us. You can find our Discord. That's where we're most active. And then actually, I'm also going to be starting a Brood War. I'm going to call it the Brood War Battle Dome. So if you're into Brood War, definitely come check that out. And I'll have some updates on that soon. A little Brood War tournament.
I was gonna say, like, you have to give me a one sentence, high level sentence of what
it's not just a tournament. It's going to be more of a cage fight, Brood War style. So definitely come check that out. I'll have some updates and some promotional materials for that in the next week. But yeah, hoping to get that started soon. So yeah, definitely come check it out.
1v1 on BGH.
I totally would be down for that. Welcome to the Thunderdome.
Yeah, exactly. The Battle Dome. I didn't want to trademark and get sued by Mel Gibson or anything there.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so you guys as well. Last but not least, update. So one of the key things about BarCrafts is we're also putting on a BarCraft, and by we I mean like I'm pretty much flying out there to SoCal, so going all over towards across from the Blizzard Arena. We're doing a pub craft. Normally the pub crafts are here in Toronto, but I was gonna be in the SoCal region for BlizzCon, and they're like, "Hey, why don't you put something on?" So we're doing something out there starting Saturday and Sunday for
the location. Where can the people find our website? How can people find you?
That's a good question. I'll pop that into the chat while I talk.
If I was in California, that would be my first question: is how can I get to this man and watch StarCraft with him?
That's an absolutely good question. It's gonna be at Simsey's Burbank, which is right across from the Blizzard Arena, and you know what? One of my favorite things about our Pubcrafts series, we always have delicious edible related items for people to eat that is StarCraft related. We've had a Nexus, we've had Kerrigan. So if you're a fan
can you do barbecue drone something? Like make like little bits of chicken and make them look like a drone and barbecue them?
Usually, you know, I'm always a pastry person, so I usually always go for the pastries. But this time we'll be doing edible WCS 2018 portraits. So you can have like little cupcakes that have the picture of your favorite player on it.
Oh, cool.
You may eat it.
That's awesome.
Eat your favorite player.
Eat your favorite player. So if the portraits that you get for trophies like that unlock, usually have. So we have those in cupcake style. So you'll be able to pick one of those and choose the one you want that's represents the player that's playing in the round of 16, and you can eat it. And then the other thing that's happening is the Blizzard devs development team will be there on Saturday. So come by if you want to meet the dev team and you want to chat them up and you want to like know more about, you know,
very cool,
what makes StarCraft. They'll be there. They'll be attending. Get a drink with them. Pick their brains.
Make sure you bring all your balance whining so you can tell them how they can fix the game, because I guarantee you all know that.
Yeah, they have no idea how to do it, so you need to tell them, guys.
Yeah, I can't officially in any capacity tell you to harass the dev with your inquiries. But
you didn't hear it from us.
You could buy them a drink and persuade them, right? Yeah, you're right. You didn't hear it on this show, so please don't tell them that the show.
Having experience with that, they are super chill guys. They're really awesome. And like I said, they all love StarCraft, and they would love to talk to you about it. They're not going to go there and just sit by themselves. They're there to talk to you. So if you go, just go say hi. They're awesome people, man.
Absolutely, cool. Absolutely, it's so true. And that's happening on Saturday and Sunday, and at the very minimum of all those things, you can come say hi to me. I'll be handling a lot of the StarCraft trivia, which I love doing trivia. So I'll be doing the trivia and the game masters.
How in depth does your trivia get? Does it get tricky?
Oh man, I do some hard. People told me my trivia is too hard, so I go a lore.
Trivia is supposed to be hard, yeah.
Yeah, well, I do lore and I do game like in-game math. So like, if you have a battle cruiser that has 2 upgrades and it hits by 4 storms, how many storms do you have to do to kill the battle cruiser?
Oh man, that's
Oh no, that's awesome. I was doing stuff like that on my trivia too. Yeah, it's make the people think and
right,
do some work.
But some people are like, that's so hard, reckon we can't get those.
Yeah,
like,
StarCraft is hard. If you can't answer this trivia
hard.
question, you can't play it. No, I'm just kidding.
It should be hard.
It should be.
And then we have there's a lot of lore and esports as well. People love the esports. They don't like the lore because they don't.
I love the lore. I wish more people were into the lore. Everybody I talk to.
Awesome.
Yeah, but
so many people are like, oh, I've never played campaign. I don't care about that.
Yeah, but like some of the comic books are free. And it's not even just that, like the comic books as well. So it's all those stuff too. So people don't like the comic books are free. You can get them in the war chests, and people are like, I didn't read the comics. I'm like, what?
Why not?
Why not? They're free. But yeah, that was that's what we're doing there that Saturday and Sunday. And last but not least, I cannot guarantee we'll be doing a show next week, but we most likely will. I just have to come up with a good idea, but I'll also be in California for BlizzCon, so we'll see how that all conflicts. I'll let you guys know how that goes on. And then that's about it. Oh, follow ESChamp on Twitter. Follow that. I totally forgot. On Twitter, ESChamp.
Yeah, where can they find you?
Me.
You forgot to advertise yourself.
Well, to be honest, most of the time I'm tweeting for ESChamp. So if you tweet at ESChamp, it will most likely be me. But if you want to see non-esports shenanigans, you follow me on Instagram at Drexama. But it's usually me just like karaoke. So you're going there for like StarCraft related stuff, or like you're not gonna find any StarCraft stuff. It's just me singing like karaoke songs and like Disney tunes and stuff like that. So
do you think you're gonna see any costumes this weekend at just especially I would obviously at BlizzCon you're gonna see a few, but do you think you're gonna see more costumes just with Halloween being next week? I'm curious.
No, I hope so.
Take notes, take a lot of pictures and report back to me.
You know what? That's all. I'll probably put that on my Instagram. I'll put some pictures of people.
I love seeing StarCraft costumes. They're so cool.
Absolutely. For those of you who don't know, we did an episode on cosplay. We had some of the best cosplayers in StarCraft to come here and talk with. So hopefully those people will be around. Oh, and yes, of course, Alessandra, you brought that up. This season of Probots is done. So on YouTube, you can get all our AI action, all the full VOD list on YouTube. Check that out. So that's all there. And Probots starts back up in December. So
stoked for that.
Yeah. Oh, and there's one thing I'm gonna put it out there too, guys, and I'm gonna get you guys feedback before I make an official announcement. I've just been thinking about this. I want to do a contest in December for montages. That's something we haven't seen a lot of anymore for a very long time, and I want to do a special episode of Inside the Scene during the holidays of StarCraft montages. Put together your best montage, and I'll put up a prize for it. So I put that. If you like that idea, if you think that's kind of cool, or if you think people are still making montages, hit me up on Twitter.
I love a good montage.
I have an important question.
Yeah.
Is BlizzCon the same weekend as League of Legends World Finals again?
Oh my God, is that?
Do you guys know this?
Is that? That's a real
I haven't
good
looked
question.
it up.
I'm gonna look
because
it up.
last year it was the same weekend, and that was really annoying.
This is telling me September 22nd through November 5th.
Yeah, it's the same.
So it's this week, next week, this week, and next week. Yeah.
Are you talking about? Is that League of Legends Worlds?
League of Legends World Championship. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same.
Friday. Oh my goodness! Can they talk to each other, please? Can we not do this?
Yeah, but they probably at the same time they're just like, I'm here, and they're like, well, we want to be here. But League of Legends though is gonna be in Korea, so I'm pretty sure like they're gonna be like, well, our time zones don't overlap.
Yeah, people can go get drunk and watch Worlds at night after BlizzCon Friday.
Yeah,
there you go.
Cool. All right, ladies and gents, this wraps up this episode. And like just I said, after I finish wrapping up, don't go anywhere. We will reveal it. Tara will play it just as we finish up the wrap up. So if you love what we do, if you like what we do, follow. If you love what we do, subscribe. And we'll see you next time on Inside the Scene. Tara, throw them the answer.